Go back to this thing that Helmut Koester at Harvard has put out there, and Elaine Pagels has picked it up, and it's been reflected in the Da Vinci Code, the popular stuff, that the reason that the traditional view of Jesus, that he was actually saying that he was God, he actually died on the cross, he actually did these miracles, was because down the pike at Nicaea at 325, this was jammed down everybody's throat by a group of powerful men. Helmut Koester goes back and says, look, there's evidence that geographically, in the Roman Empire, across the Mediterranean and so on, in different places, you had these groups that had this Gnostic Jesus, but they didn't have the traditional Jesus. Why has that been shown to be false now?
Well, this is an important claim, and Koester popularized it, but the real person it goes back to is Walter Bauer. He wrote a work in the 1930s, 1934, in German, and it was called Orthodoxy and Heresy in the Earliest Christianity. And his theory was that if you break Christianity up into the geographical regions, so think about northern Egypt, think about Asia Minor, what is now the Turkey area, think about Antioch in Syria, and think about Rome. That if you divide it up into those areas, some of these areas were alternative Christian majorities, and in fact many of them were, and a few of them were the more Orthodox. Rome was Orthodox.
That was his theory.
That was his theory. The problem is that church historians working this material basically say Bauer's got it wrong. He's only got one area where it may be the case. It's a place called Edessa. Now, the reason you've never heard of it is because it's not one of the great centers of Christianity in early Christian history. Antioch of Syria was much more important. Alexandria of Egypt was much more important. Rome was much more important. He doesn't mention Jerusalem at all, which obviously was Orthodox from the beginning. And so the problem here is that Edessa, it might be the case. The problem is we have next to no evidence of materials from Edessa, so anyone can say just about anything they want about Edessa and make it plausible. Take Edessa out of the equation, all the other areas, according to most church historians, it was not the case that these alternative views were the most prevalent. In fact, they were a substantial minority in many cases, and in some cases views have switched. Berger Pearson, who's probably the foremost expert about Egypt, his view has changed on this in light of new evidence that came up in the 60s and 70s that's been publicized.